Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's lunch lecture. My name is Sanne Elbers and I work for Studium Generale, the TU Delft platform for the best lectures, debates, workshops. And today we have a workshop on emoji planned for you. And I was wondering who uses emoji in their text messages? And who uses them in their emails? And are there people using emoji in official documents? Okay, now this may seem strange, but there actually are examples of cases in court where they are examining the meaning of an emoji used by a suspect, for example, a gun emoji, and whether this means a kill job was given or not. So it's pretty far-fetching, this phenomena already. And today we have Lilian Stolk with us, the Netherlands' first emoji expert, historian and artist, and she's going to take us along on a journey of the phenomenon of emoji and the impact that it has on our language. So can I please get a warm welcome for Lilian?
All right. Do we need a microphone? Is it better for the... Yeah? Okay. Okay, then we do start. So these are the 170 new emoji that will be added this year. We will then scroll through over 3,000 emoji. Will we never have an emoji overload? Yes, Sanne already introduced me. I'm Lilian Stolk. I'm an historian, artist, and suddenly I became Dutch foremost emoji expert. I wrote a book about the phenomenon. It's called the Zonder Woordenboek. And besides doing things with emoji, I'm also running a platform about internet culture, which is called The Hum. And in the next 40 minutes, I will show you how emoji influenced our language, and I will tell you more about its current problem. So my research to emoji started with this text message. It was about 5 years ago, and I was sitting at our kitchen table with my boyfriend, and we were discussing the latest iOS update. At that time, Apple had just added different skin tone colors to their emoji persons. My boyfriend did the update, but I had an older iPhone and couldn't do the update anymore. And because I was very curious how these skin tones would appear on my old phone, my boyfriend sent me a Black Father Christmas. And I received that as an White Father Christmas, because at that time the standard was for persons was white, followed by an alien. And when I copied the alien and sent it back to him, he received a square in exactly the skin tone color of the Black Father Christmas that he earlier sent me. So at the time I already sent emoji quite regularly, but I didn't ever think about it more. And this was the moment where I started realizing that emoji was just a computer code. And at the same time, I started wondering why, where do these symbols come from? And why are exactly these symbols installed on our phones? Go back a bit. So yeah, that's how my journey to emoji started, and I soon discovered that there was a whole world hidden behind emoji. So the emoji, they might look a bit childish, but yeah, we did a small questionnaire. A lot of people are using them. Actually, 92% of all smartphone users sometimes use emoji. On Facebook Messenger, daily 5 billion emoji are sent. So it's a really, essential, become an essential part of our communication. So 5 years ago, there was hardly any serious research done about emoji, so that's why I decided to do it myself for the Het Zonder Woordenboek, which can be translated as the book without words. I interviewed all the important people in the emoji world, and I interviewed some scientists, some linguists, and also psychologists, and I did some research myself. And the book describes the phenomenon emoji, but also a broader trend, why we are so focused on the visual. And before I'm gonna tell you more about that, I want to do a small experiment, because I translated a sentence into emoji, and I'm curious if you can translate that back to a normal language. So if you have an idea what I tried to say here, please raise your hand. Anyone who has an idea? Yeah?
I won a prize and I'm happy, so I'm writing to show you how much I like them.
Yeah, that could be true. What I try to say here is that the first smiley was designed by a person who's called Harvey Ball. But I think one of the conclusions we can draw from this experiment is that emoji is not a full language. We cannot translate whole sentences into emoji. This is a question that I often get: is emoji a language? I would say no, it's just a form of language. And this is also a main difference if you compare emoji with the very first visual language that we've deciphered, the hieroglyphics. Because the hieroglyphics, that was a full language. And it was used in that way because not every symbol stood for the object that it resembled, but it could also refer to a certain sound. So for instance, the hieroglyph of a snake also stood for the sound N, because in their language, the word snake started with the N. It was the starting sound of the word. And in that way, you could write whole sentences. Another big difference is that hieroglyphics were engraved in stone. And you can imagine if you have to write only this message here in hieroglyphics into stone, and by engraving them, it will take you probably the whole day. It's a very intense process. The writers at the time, they were happy to do that. They took that for granted, because a message in hieroglyphics, that was always a message to God. And by engraving them, they made sure that it would exist forever. Emoji, on the other hand, is part of a very fast kind of language. If we type a message and we add an emoji to it, we immediately press on send and we don't even read it back. So when people started writing more, also our script became easier to write. Our characters became more abstract. I really like this graph because it shows that the characters that we now daily use actually are abstract drawings of things that were important in the environment of people that lived thousands of years ago. It's actually part of a bigger graph with all the letters of the alphabet. Yeah, we've long lived in a text-based society simply because it was difficult to duplicate and to copy images. Now, the technology developed, and especially after the Second World War, also a clear goal emerged. Flights became cheaper and faster. And an international pictogram language was designed to inform international travelers with different language backgrounds, often in a hurry, to get their way in these big terminals of airports and train stations. And this is still used. It's also interesting to see that it's always used in combination with text. Oh yeah, I want to add here something because like the flights, they connected the world a bit more together, but the whole digital revolution, they connected the world even more together. We now have devices and websites and that we all use, we all use the same devices and websites with people all over the world. And if you look at our smartphone screen, it's full of pictograms and icons that people from all over the world will understand. And emoji is one example of that. But still, it gets a lot of critique also. Some people say that they will ruin our language or that they will ensure that we cannot express ourselves with the alphabet anymore. But I think that the alphabet is just a way to communicate and not the way. Because if you look at the entire human history, we've actually longer communicated with images, like the hieroglyphics. It's a longer period that we used images than that we used these abstract characters of the alphabet. And also, communication with images is more, it's more in our human nature. This is something, for instance, what you see with children. They first draw their stories on paper, and only much later they learn how to write. But this is something they have to learn. It's not something they do by nature. Research also shows that images are a way, more direct translation of our thoughts. If we would think about a dog, this thought is more similar to a visual of a dog, how a dog looks like, than of the word dog. So visuals can also help us translate our ideas better. Mm-hmm. I think the experiment that we did in the beginning of the talk, that also shows that the alphabet is also very useful. We should not stop with using that, of course. But visuals, they have their own quality. And if you look at emoji, you can say that they actually have 4 important functions for our language. And the first, and I think that is the most important one, is that it translates our nonverbal cues. So especially when text messaging became free, we started messaging a lot. We sent a lot of messaging back and forth to each other, and it's so short and direct that it actually forms like a conversation. We type as fast and as direct as we would speak. But in a normal conversation, our words are only one part of the message. The facial expression we have, the tone of voice we use, or the hand gestures we make, that is another very important part. And this is something that we translate with emoji. So, for instance, if you have the sentence or the message, I'm at work. This is very factual information, and it doesn't really say a lot about the intention. What do you want to say with this sentence? Now, if this emoji is attached to that sentence, then it means that maybe you have to search for another job. But if you attach this one to it, the same words get a whole other meaning. So, adding an emoji can make sure that the message is sent with the right intention that we have in mind with the words we say. And emoji is especially useful to translate feelings. We can say that we find something cool, but maybe we can translate that feeling of cool way better with just a string of emoji. Another function that is a bit related to this is that emoji is a way to indicate irony. This is the tears of joy emoji, and it's often used for that. So if you have the sentence, or if you write, oh, I'm looking good in that picture, and you put the tears of joy emoji behind it, it's clear that you actually mean totally the opposite. Now, adding irony in language, in text, it always has been a problem. There has been different suggestions for special signs or characters to indicate irony, but now we have it with emoji. And since irony is like triumphing on the internet, it's very popular thing to express. This is also the most used emoji on every platform and all over the world. Now, a third function is that emoji makes our language more playful. So with words, we've agreed that they have a certain meaning, but with emoji, we never learned how to use it. We just use them, and it's often clear how we should use them because of its visual resemblance. But because their rules are way less strict, we also feel more free to use them the way we want to use them, or to give them second meanings that things that maybe are missing in the emoji collection. Sometimes you can give a certain emoji a second meaning among a group of friends. Then that also gives a sense of bonding to this group. You all know that we use this emoji in this way. And sometimes, and the internet helps in this second meaning can be spread via the internet. It can go viral, and other people start using it in this way. And that's what happened with some emoji. I think the peach emoji and the eggplant are the main examples of that, but I guess I don't have to explain them. And another last unique function of emoji is that it is a universal language. So we all share the same keyboard with people from all over the world. We have the same set of icons installed on our phones. And it's especially useful on international platforms like Instagram. If you see or you scroll through the work of a Chinese photographer and you want to say that you like the work, then you can send I love it or I like it, but still much more people will understand if you send a heart emoji. We often think about the English language as a universal language, but there are so many countries where people hardly speak English. So with emoji, we can actually communicate with these languages without speaking Chinese, for instance. And that's also why emoji is so popular on these international platforms. On Instagram, half of all comments include emoji. Emoji hasn't always been a worldwide phenomenon. It originated in Japan already 20 years ago, and we only use emoji about 10 years now. And that's all because of this man. You recognize him, probably more of you. Steve Jobs, he's the founder of Apple. And when he created the iPhone in 2007, he really wanted to introduce this phone on the Japanese market. But Japan, until that time, they had their own phone market. So they had other devices. They didn't have Nokias or Blackberries, the phones that we were using, but they had their own. So introducing a Western phone to the Japanese market, that was quite a challenge. Steve Jobs, he found a Japanese provider that wanted to give him a network in Japan, but only on one condition, that he had to add emoji on the phone, because emoji already at that time was such an essential part of mobile communication in Japan that a phone would never be a success without emoji. All Apple devices, they use Unicode. Is anyone, do you know what Unicode is? I see a lot of no's. I also only know about it because of this research, but we all daily use it. Unicode, it's an organization that is digitalizing our language. So they gave every character of the alphabet a certain code, which is activated when we press a key on our keyboard. And it ensures that if you have an iPhone and you send a message to a Samsung or another machine with a whole different operating system, that they still understand each other. And that a message won't show up with all these empty squares that you sometimes might have seen. So it's like an universal standard that makes sure that these different operating systems can communicate with each other. So emoji had to be added to that Unicode. Google at the time actually had the same problem. They wanted to introduce Gmail in Japan, and they also should add emoji to make that a success. So these big tech companies, they had to convince the Unicode to include the Japanese icons to the international standard. Now, this sounds like a big story, but it's not exactly true, because the companies are working a lot together. Also, the president of Unicode is working for Google. So, yeah, it was not difficult to get that done. Yeah, because the first idea, the purpose to add emoji to the Unicode was to make the Japanese customer happy. Nobody ever thought that we all over the world would be using emoji. So they just copied the Japanese set of emoji one-on-one. And because of that, in the beginning, the food category was full of sushi and other rice dishes. Now we also have cheese and tacos and broccoli and other stuff. Yeah, so that's because when people all over the world started using emoji, there also came a lot of wishes for new emoji. People wanted to see things that were important for them in their lives. And that's why when Unicode realized that they had to come up with a strategy to deal with that. So they decided to add 100 new emoji, around 100 new emoji every year. And they try to do that as democratic as possible. At least that's what Mark Davis, the president of Unicode, said to me when I interviewed him. So anyone can hand in a proposal. If you have a good idea of something you want to see in the keyboard, you can go to the quite inaccessible website of the Unicode. It looks like a 90s website with only text. But somewhere you can find how you have to submit a character, what you have to do for it. You have to put quite some work in that. You have to write a document in which you convince them why it's important to add this emoji. To illustrate that, in 2017, there was a proposal for a sad poo emoji. So we all know the happy poo, but someone also wanted a sad poo, and that consisted of 11 pages. And it didn't make it in the end. Every proposal must meet several criteria that Unicode have come up with. But the most important one is that an emoji should become popular. They say if you want to add a new food item, it must be as popular as a hamburger. So you can Google, you have Google Trends. I don't know if you know that. There you can see how often certain things are Googled. You can compare different items together. So you have to type in hamburger and compare that with your food item. Then an emoji should not be too specific or too trendy. That's why a lot of Justin Bieber emoji have been rejected. And an emoji should not be formed with emoji that already exists. So it should not be possible to express it already with existing emoji. So there's no need for a Halloween emoji because we already have a pumpkin and a ghost, and together they can stood for Halloween, refer to Halloween. Yeah, so it is nice that everyone can hand in a proposal. It's a bit like a high step to do that. And in the end, the Unicode decides if it will be installed on the keyboard or not. They make the final decision. And they do that together with their voting members. And that are companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, all the big tech companies. They yearly pay $80,000 to be a voting member at Unicode. So the language that we all use is actually determined by only a few people. People who work for these big tech companies that already decide so much of our digital lives. Yeah, imagine if these commercial companies would say what, or determine for us what words we can use. It would be crazy for us, but with emoji, that's actually the case now. I can give you an example of how this, how these companies are influencing the emoji on our keyboard. So last year, a period emoji was rejected. It looked like this. It was an underpants with some blue drops on top of it. And it, according to the Unicode, it was too specific. Although, like, almost half of all people around the world have periods. But they suggested to keep them apart from each other. So to have a blue drop and underpants. So, yeah, I get that, because in this way, like, the blue drop can be used in several ways. It could refer to a period, but it could also be a symbol for blood transfusion or donation or other medical stuff. And you have the underpants, which can be, have a broader meaning. And we don't want to have we don't want to have too many emojis, so it's nice that emoji can be used in several ways. These two are added, so we can type with them now. They are added last year in the end of 2019. And in the same batch of new emoji at that time, that also included 70 new emoji for people with a disability. Including a rescue dog and a guide dog. Now, why was the period emoji too specific? And why is a rescue dog and a guide dog? It's good that they are there, but why is that then not too specific? Maybe the reason is that Google actually did a proposal for the emoji for people with a disability. So these companies, if they want to see an emoji on their keyboard, they also have to hand in an official proposal. But it gives them a lot of PR because this proposal gets a lot of media attention. For them, it's a way to say, like with this disability emoji, it's a way for them to show that they're standing for diversity. And also they could like vote on it, so it's more chance that it will be added in the end. Yeah, because I think it's a bit weird that these companies have so much influence on the language that we all use. And I think that we as users should also have a say in that. And that's why I created the web-based app Emoji Voter last year. Emoji Voter works like Tinder. You get all the emoji candidates that Unicode is now discussing about, and you can swipe right if you want to see this emoji on your keyboard, or swipe left if you think, I don't need that emoji. I released the app in last November. And in this the last 3 months, over 13,000 people have voted for the emoji. And it's nice to see, if you do it really in this democratic way, that then this emoji shows up at the first place. So this is the most popular emoji in the emoji voter, the hugging emoji. And almost 80% of all people said that they want to have this emoji on the keyboard. With the emoji voter, we've now come to the end of the first voting period. That's because Unicode, a few weeks ago, they announced what emoji they will add. And they decided that all the emoji in the emoji voter will be added to our keyboards this year. So all the emoji from the voter, and I showed you the 170 new emoji that were the emoji that will be added in the end of the year, probably. Also the tamale emoji. This is a Mexican dish. If you not know what tamale is. But only like 80% of all people in the emoji voter voted against the tamale emoji. So, but it will be added. Now, I think that it is important that we really look to what emoji, what emoji are we going to use? It's really good to take notice of that and to see what emoji do we use for our communication. If you look at the statistics, we actually mostly use only the hand gestures and the faces. But now in the emoji voter and the new emoji that are added, that they're only from the 117 new emoji, there's only one hand gesture and one facial expression. So yeah, I think we really should reconsider that, and I hope that the Unicode will in the future also give more take notice of the choice of the users. And maybe the emoji voter can be a tool for that. So if you agree with me, I would invite you to go to the emojivoter.com, and there you can swipe through the emoji. As I said, we've come to the end of the voting period, and on Thursday the new emoji will be added that are the emoji for 2021. That's about the emoji voter, and we've come to the end of my presentation. I want to show you that emoji has a really big influence on our language, and it really changed. We're also currently still developing and shaping the language. And we do that with the whole world, and that's actually quite unique. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilian. Are there any questions? Okay.
This is yeah. Oh wow, this is working. One of the very well-known emojis is, of course, thumbs up or thumbs down, and I think it's one of the first emotions. But now we see a lot of them, because in the beginning they were only white thumbs up, and now you have several colors of them, which is a good one. But can you elaborate a little bit on how that happened? That nowadays you don't choose immediately a white thumb, but more colorful things. How that worked and how to apply it?
Yeah. So as I told in the beginning with the text message, all the persons had a white skin tone, so there only was a white thumbs up. But since we used emoji all over the world, and not everyone all over the world has a white skin tone, so it would be a bit weird for people who have another skin tone to send this emoji. And that's why there were a lot of requests for different skin tones, and with that pressure, Apple decided to add that. A lot of people think that we first only communicated with the yellow one. Like with the yellow one, I personally use only the yellow skin tone colors, because I actually find it even difficult to know what like gradient and what skin tone I have. And I think this is also a bit of a problem of the whole emoji things, that because it's designed so specifically. Yeah, maybe I'll go back one step. So if we would only have a yellow or maybe a purple
blue?
thumbs up or blue, yeah, then it only would stand for the message of a thumbs up. But now it stands for two things, like the color, the skin tone color, and the thumbs up. And I think it would be more useful, and it would help us to have less emoji if we would have like the non-realistic skin tone colors. The same thing is true with the dancer emoji, for instance. Apple designed that as a flamenco dancer. That was also a white woman with brown hair and a red dress. And because it was filled in that way, people started requesting for different skin tones, for different hair colors, for different genders. But Google first had like a more abstract blob figure as a dancer. It was not a human figure, it was more abstract. And if we only had that, it could, like that blob figure could resemble every gender, every dance, every skin tone option, because it was yellowish. So I think that would help the emoji language. But now we're in a whole other direction because they only become more detailed.
Who's next?
Now we have a lot of emojis, like you said, skin tones are included, there's blue, pink, yellow hearts, disability is included. So my question is that should we take emojis so seriously, and why?
I think that we should take that was my standpoint in when I started this research, that we should take it seriously because so many people are using it. I do think that we go on a different direction because we don't treat it as an icon. We don't treat them as icons, but they've become illustrations. And with illustrations, there's a never ending, and it's also never enough. But because now we have the tamale emoji, but why not adding a stroopwafel then, or like a typical Holland dish? And I think it adds a lot of value to our language, and it's also installed automatically on our phones. If you compare it, for instance, with stickers, there you have a lot of diversity as well. You can become more personal because you can make your own stickers, but that is something that you have to install yourself. An emoji is already installed in our phones automatically. Do you think we should not take it serious?
Well, we shouldn't have bigger debates about why there's a fruit and why there isn't a fruit and fight over it, because
I agree with you, and I think that there should be a better strategy for dealing with that, a cutoff. Maybe only say we only add a more facial recognition, facial expression and hand gestures, because research shows that these are the emoji that we often use. Or maybe we should get rid of certain emoji, and that is also something that the Unicode doesn't do. If an emoji is coded, it will be there forever. But I agree with you that we cannot fill in more flowers, and we're scrolling through 10,000s of emoji within a few years then.
Thank you very much for your presentation and lecture. I'm curious to know that have you encountered with the different perception or interpretation of the emojis, certain emojis, in different contexts, in different cultures?
Yeah.
Is there any specific research regarding them or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure about one specific research, but there are some researches done about it. I actually didn't put it in the presentation because I thought it would be a bit too long otherwise. But because emoji originated in Japan, there still are a lot of typical Japanese symbols. Often we don't recognize them as typical Japanese. For instance, this is one Japanese gesture. I did a questionnaire for my book, and I get all different interpretations from people. People thought that this person is celebrating or doing ballet or relaxing. Some people said because it's laughing, hands in the head. But in Japan, the meaning is very clear. It's an okay gesture in Japan. So we have this thumbs up, but in Japan they do this. They form an O with their hands, gesturing okay. This is another one. We often use this emoji as sleeping. As a sad emoji or a sick emoji because of the snot. But in Japan, this is clearly a sleeping face. There are a lot of manga items interwoven in the emoji language. In manga, there's a certain drop grammar. If there's a drop standing on the forehead, it refers to sweat. If it's coming from the eye, it is a tear. It can be a tear of luck or a tear of sadness. And if it's coming from the nose, it's a snot bubble. But in manga, people with a snot bubble are sleepy. So maybe you've seen it in Japanese anime. So, but indeed, it's interesting to see that the emojis is used all over the world, but every country has their own ways of using. Also because, for instance, the middle finger emoji in Morocco, they have a whole different sign for a middle finger. They don't put the middle finger up, but they put it down. So that's why we never can have a true universal language in that. I can add one more thing to that because often the context makes clear the way you want to use that symbol. And that's also with symbols we use in daily life. So we have the thumbs up. Can of course mean okay, but if you're standing next to a road and you put the thumbs up, it doesn't mean okay, but it means that you want to get a ride. And if you are diving and you do a thumbs up, then it has a whole different meaning. So it's also in the real world rule that we use gestures in several ways, and that the context can make clear in what way, what is the intention.
Or this gesture is Italian gesture.
Yeah.
I think it's recently added to the...
Yeah, that will be added this year, yes. Indeed. Yeah.
Who wants to?
Thank you for your presentation. You just mentioned stickers. Do you think that maybe stickers are a result of that people want to have more control on what they are able to send to others?
Yeah, I definitely think that. Because stickers are the true democratization of this visual language. When I was in Japan, that was 4 years ago, there hardly anyone uses emoji anymore. Everyone used stickers, and it was really a big business. People designing their own stickers, selling them. There were even a few people who can make a living out of selling their own stickers. So I really think that is a way also to make the communication more personal, because you can just add whatever you want and whatever you need. So yeah, the disadvantage of stickers is that we now have stickers at the time I was writing the book, WhatsApp didn't support stickers, for instance, and WhatsApp is the main messaging app that we are using here. Yeah, the disadvantage is that the stickers you use in WhatsApp, you cannot use in Facebook or in Twitter, and it's really only like platform, narrowed to the platform you use.